Just gonna do a quick intro. Hey everyone, welcome. I'm delighted to see you all today. Thank you for coming. Um, we'll start class with our centering moment. There is research around how we take in and let out air for different things. So you can look up breathing for relaxation. Or breathing for energy, right? There are types of breathing that you can do that energize your body in those moments when you're feeling a little bit sluggish or down and out. And so today we're going to practice a breath for focus. So what we're going to do is you take an inhale for 4 counts, and then you hold it for 7 counts. And then you exhale for 8 counts. So it's the 4, 7, 8 breath. Inhale for 4, hold for 7, exhale for 8. So let's take a moment and do that together. Again, if it helps you to put your hand on your gut so you can feel the breath, the expansion on your chest, helping to come into the focus of being here in this moment. So let's take an in breath for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and out for 8. Slow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then in for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and out for 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And now on your own. In for 4. Hold for 7. Out for 8. And as you're doing that, you can take this in. Become aware of your body. Recognize that every molecule that makes up your body existed before it was part of you. Every water molecule in your blood came into your body in the form of something you ate or drank. Picture yourself sipping a cup of tea. While it is in your cup, it is not your body. Then you drink. Now some of that water becomes part of your body, part of your blood. Even before the water was part of your tea, it existed for a long time in other places. That water has been rain, rivers, oceans, and clouds as it moved through the water cycle. Now it has become an essential part of you for a period of time. As you breathe in and out, recognize that every molecule in your body has been soil, stone, or sea. Your body is made entirely of elements that have been other things and will be again. You may experience a deep revelation that you are not separate or cut off from the rest of nature. Connections. We are part of the bigger picture. I have with me a friend of mine. She goes by the name of Mud, not her given name. And she is here to tell you about an opportunity, a choice that you can make at Penn State as something that's a little bit extra and will enhance greatly your experience of Penn State. So, welcome, Mud. Yeah? Do you have this one? Nope. Yep. You just take this one. Okay. Thank you. Okay. You can tuck that in.
Hello, everyone. So My nature name is Mud. My given name is Jamie, but I work at Shavers Creek Environmental Center. Who's heard of Shavers Creek before? Nice. Who's been to Shavers Creek? Nice. So I'm here to talk about kind of a specific opportunity that we have at Shavers Creek. And so I'm going to kind of click through some slides to give you an idea of what it looks like. But Shavers Creek is Penn State's Nature Center, if you're not sure what it is. And we offer lots of different things. One, it's just a great place to come be outside, kind of take a break from campus. But we also have an aviary, a herpetarium, so we have some pretty cool animals. And we also have classes there and events. So if you're interested in Shavers Creek generally, you can kind of find more information about that online. But I'm here to talk to you about Outdoor School. And so Outdoor School is an opportunity for Penn State students. Who's heard of Outdoor School before? Couple people. So Outdoor School is a fifth grade field trip for mostly kids from Mifflin County and Huntington County, with a few other counties as well. But it's been happening since the 50s. So Outdoor School is actually turning 70 next year, which is very exciting. And so some of these kids that are coming to Outdoor School, their parents have come to Outdoor School, and even in some cases, grandparents. And basically, these fifth graders come and they get to learn outside for a whole week. And they're learning about kind of their forest ecosystem in central Pennsylvania. But they're also learning a lot about themselves. Fifth graders are roughly 10 or 11 years old. So they're kind of just getting out of elementary and going into middle school. So it's kind of, if you remember being that age, it's kind of a tough time. And so they're learning a lot about themselves. It might be their first time away from home. They come and stay at Outdoor School. And the reason this is what fifth graders look like, in case you've forgotten. And the reason I'm here to talk to you about it is because we have counselors at Outdoor School, and counselors are Penn State students. And so you could have the opportunity to come to Outdoor School for a week. So it is a week of like you would miss class to come and stay at camp. But you would earn 2 general health and wellness credits. So you need 3 of those to graduate. So if you're still looking for a general health and wellness, this is a great opportunity. If you like to be outside, or you want some experience teaching, these are also great ways to come be involved. So this is a learning group. So typically you'll be with a few other counselors and what we call a learning group leader. So they're the one that teach the lessons. And that's roughly 12 to 15 kids. And so your job as a counselor is to help manage the group. You also stay in a cabin with kids and another counselor. So you're really there supervising, helping them kind of throughout their outdoor school experience. So like I mentioned, you can get 2 general health and wellness credits. So it is a class. You can also get 75 hours of community service, which one looks good on a resume, but also if you need any sort of set of hours for whatever major you're in. You do get fed all week, and the food's awesome. So you don't have to bring anything specific to Outdoor School. And one of the reasons I really love it is that anyone can do it. So you can be from any major. You don't have to have any teaching experience, any camp experience, anything like that. So really anyone can do it. And one of the things I love about Outdoor School is just the impact it has on the kids. Some of these kids have been waiting literally since kindergarten to come to their big fifth grade field trip. Has anyone ever been to sleepaway camp, summer camp, anything like that as a kid? Yeah, so a lot of you. So you can kind of picture that in your mind where you're getting to spend time with friends outside, but they are getting to learn at the same time. It is their field trip, so they're learning science curriculum. Um, and we typically, kind of a typical day is we will have a morning lesson, and then we'll have lunch, and then we'll typically have at least 1 or 2 more lessons or programs. And then we always end the night with a campfire, which is really sweet. You don't have to pick up baby snakes unless you want to, and that could be cool. And you also get to just be outside for a week. So when I did it as a student, I really just appreciated the break from campus, and it kind of feels like its own little magical world over there, which is really special. We eat family style, so we eat with the kids, and so they are learning about the ecosystem, but like I said, they're learning a lot about themselves, and so they're even learning like, you know, make sure you say please and thank you when you pass the salt, which seems really basic to us, but they are still kind of learning those things. This is what the cabins look like. So we're not roughing it in tents or anything like that. We have nice winterized cabins. And I'm that's just a really sweet photo. The kid that doesn't want to leave. So a lot of these kids by the end of the week don't even want to leave camp because they've had so much fun. And so they do really, really look forward to it. And they absolutely love and adore the counselors. So kind of more of a logistical piece of things. So we have 6 weeks of outdoor school in the fall, but we do run it every fall and every spring. So if you were to apply, you would pick whatever week works for you based on your own schedule. And then there are a few training dates we ask you to come to. So we're not asking you to come to all 6 weeks of camp. It would just be 1 week out of the semester. And the application deadline is the 14th. So that is this Sunday. So it's kind of a quick turnaround. But that's because camp starts the first week of October. So if this is something you're interested in and you have questions, there's an outdoor school email. And I'm also going to leave some flyers that you can pick up on your way out of class today. And I think that's it. Does anyone have any questions about outdoor school? Okay. Yeah, so if you're interested, you can apply by Sunday, I think by like midnight. And if it maybe doesn't sound like your thing, you're welcome to spread the word to friends that might be interested. And that's it. Thank you.
I will send this out in a Canvas announcement so that you can have that email address and all the information as well as the application deadline so that you have that. It is a good way of enhancing your Penn State experience. I've met lots of students who were surprised what they got from the experience and how they figured some things out, made some connections, and made some friends too. So I highly encourage that you try outdoor school. My nature name is Prism, and I did about 30 weeks of outdoor school back in the day. So I'm a big fan. Thank you for coming, Mud. Yes, good luck on your recruiting. Yes. Thank you. So here we are. Last time we got together, we were talking about origins and our origin story. And a number of you brought up that idea of choice. And that's where we are today, where we're thinking about choice, the capacity that we have for choices. Every day we face, as somebody that was sitting over here said, we face all kinds of choices. We face the big choices, the little choices, what to wear, where to go, what to eat, all those kinds of things, as well as the big ones of is this a really good friend for me? Or should I start dating this person? Or what's my major and why is it that? And how can I choose? So there's all kinds of those choices and things, ideas that are rolling around in our heads. Right? So if you think about the example of being in a grocery store, we'll talk a little bit about how we make choices, what happens in the brain, particularly when we're making choices. So all of the options at the grocery store, you have that list of things that you need, and then you walk in, and there in front of you are also all the things that you might want, right? So you've got this list of things you need, and then you discover, oh, Pringles are on sale today. That's interesting. Maybe I want some Pringles. So you have to figure out what you're going to do in those circumstances. So how does the brain do this? Studies suggest it relies on two separate brain regions in the prefrontal cortex. So there's a part that determines the overall value, the risk versus the reward. So if I pay money and get those Pringles, what's that going to do for my health? What's that going to do for my budget? What's that going to do for how popular I am at the party? Pringles versus carrots, right? So there's the idea of risk versus reward of those choices. And then there's another part of the brain that actually guides how we ultimately behave. So we want to prevent bad things from happening and promote good things that are happening. So you need to consider then in the grocery store, how much are you willing to spend? How much money do you have? How much time are you going to spend in the store? How many calories do you need and want to consume? What kind of calories are those? So all of this information goes into our minds. We process it, and then whatever we put into our cart at the end that we check out with was the decision, right? So we have these kind of scenarios all the time. A very wise man said this. You might want to write this quote down because it applies to lots of different scenarios. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Viktor Frankl, a celebrated Austrian psychiatrist who wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. He was a Holocaust survivor and wrote that book, Man's Search for Meaning, in 1946. It was a meditation on the gruesome experience of being in Auschwitz and the psychological state of those who survived, right? The quest for meaning in that circumstance. He also said, everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. We get to choose our own destiny. We get to choose our own story. So there are two words here that come to mind, decide and choose. Decide and choose. So decide means that all of the other options have been eliminated and you have a decision. The one choice that remains is your decision. So if we break that word down into its parts, D and side, C-I-D-E, the C-I-D-E part means to cut, and D, the D-E, means all. So in the word decide, we are cutting off options that are available to us, right? So if I'm going to decide between the chocolate cupcake and say that healthier sorbet, right? So I'm going to decide between the two. I'm going to cut off an option. So it's using the analytical mind. That's how I think of the word decide. It's mostly in my brain that I'm going to make that choice. If you think about the words homicide, it means to cut off a life. Pesticide means to cut off the life of pests. Herbicide cuts off the life of plants. So decide, cutting off, and that mostly happens in your mind. Choosing, on the other hand, choosing, it's more of a want, a preference, a desire. Choice is a more grounded feeling that's often based in interest and passion, maybe in a gut and heart, inner wisdom. That's what I think of as a choice. So often when we decide, we're going for the known, the easy one. But if we actually choose, we're using more of our equipment. And then we're often saying yes to something in spite of maybe a fear or in spite of the idea that I should do something. So choosing is often more challenging, maybe some uncertainty or some resistance around that. So, for instance, I choose to get up early so that I can have breakfast. The rest of my day just goes better, even though sometimes it's just hard to get out of bed. I'm going to make that choice because I know for me it's better in the long run, right? I'm going to choose to end a relationship with a boyfriend or girlfriend or significant other because it doesn't feel right. It's not that anything I can pinpoint as wrong, but it just doesn't feel right. So I choose to take a promotion because not just for the pay raise, but also for the experience that I'm going to get, for the way that I'm going to get to lead other people. So choosing is often a bigger deal. Choosing a challenging conversation, choosing to ask hard questions. Right? So it's not simple. The brain isn't trustworthy by itself. And sometimes we make decisions based on too little information, or maybe that our expectations are set and none of the available things feel exactly right. And so we settle for something that's not quite right. We choose, to go with just like, well, I guess we have to do this thing. So there's all of that previous experience and the biases that we carry, the dualism stuff. So when you think about those big choices, and sometimes the small ones too, think about using all of your equipment. This is where my big aha came with BiSci 3. The first time I sat in on the course, when I heard about how the other equipment that we have is just as important as our brains. My dad is an accountant. I love him dearly, but he taught me that when you're making a decision, you make a pros and a cons list, and then the one with more pros and less cons is the winner. And it's all about so that's how I ended up at the college where I went, Westminster, is because, well, it didn't seem to have anything bad going for it. It just was. And so I just decided, because it had more pros, I had been there, et cetera, et cetera. I had some friends that were going there. But I got there and it wasn't really the right choice for me because I didn't listen to my other equipment. So counting pros and cons using our brains is just not quite enough. So as we consider what the other equipment is, it's here. Your gut contains a second brain. The enteric nervous system lining the gut contains 100 million neurons, which is more than the spinal cord or the peripheral nervous system. So we have this whole other brain going on in our guts. So if you've heard those phrases, somebody says, well, if you don't know, just go with your gut. That's what they mean, right? I have a gut reaction to something. That means that there's something in my nervous system that's sending me a signal that's telling me something important. So it relies on that same connections, the same neurons, the same neurotransmitters that are found in the central nervous system powered by our brain. It's just that we don't put as much weight on that. We don't invest in this because it's secondary, right? We just, especially in our society today, we don't pay so much attention to this. So when the fight or flight response through the central nervous system goes off, then the enteric nervous system responds by slowing down or stopping digestion so that the body's energy can be diverted to the situation at hand. So this used to be really useful for when humans, were out hunting in the bush and that panther comes sneaking out of the bush, right? We have to run, we have to flee, or we have to fight if we're going to survive. So the inside, this nervous system shuts down and sends all the energy out so that we are ready for whatever's going to happen next. We aren't encountering many panthers in today's society, but what happens is we are encountering other stresses. I think you know what I'm talking about. All the things that come up in our days that are stressful. So how is it that all of this then is connected to our system, connected in our system? It's through the vagus nerve. The power of the vagus nerve is pretty darn cool. So the vagus nerve connects here at the lower part of our brainstem, and then it comes down, it connects to our throat, where obviously using our voice, speaking our mind, speaking our passions is really important. It goes down here, it's connected to the lungs, to the heart, to all of the internal organs, and then down into where this enteric nervous system is. So it's called the wandering nerve. Vagus means wandering in Latin because it's the only cranial nerve to extend beyond the head. This is what I'm talking about when I talk about using all of your equipment in your choices. It's being able to listen to these parts. So if we know about this, then we're able to bring it online when we need it. So you have the power to unlock your vagus nerve when you need it. So by the breathing that we do at the beginning of class, breathing can unlock the vagus nerve. Another way to do it is by sort of triggering any of the parts that are along the system. So we're gonna right now do it with our voices. So take a moment and just think about your favorite song, okay, or a favorite song. And now I want you to hum it or sing it out loud right now. Go. Like with passion, come on. So by humming or singing, or even laughing at me humming, you have triggered your vagus nerve. You've brought that online. You've made your whole body aware of the capacity. It means that you're not being chased by a lion right now. There's nothing to be afraid of in this moment. And you can be a more centered being when you bring your vagus nerve online, especially in those moments of stress when, you have a test and your heart is racing and you're feeling out of balance, feeling out of whack. Those are the perfect times to put on your favorite tune, walk across campus, you're outside, you're singing, and you're moving your body. That is a great way to bring your vagus nerve online. Other ways that you can do that, you can splash cold water on your face, and that helps to trigger. Giving and getting a hug is another beautiful way to trigger the vagus nerve. You can do the breathing that we do. So if you understand how to unlock the rest of your body and bring it on so it's all part of the team, then you are way ahead of the game, right? You can calm life stresses by bringing your vagus nerve into your life, right? Into your whole body experience. So what I'm talking about is this balance of equipment. So you've got your brain, and that's for logic and reason, that's for answers, that's for decisions, knowledge. It's useful when you need to know the correct answer. So when you're sitting in there taking a test, you need to know the answer. Of course, your brain is the key. But if you're nervous, right, if something else is going on in your body, then your brain may not be fully functioning. You've got these other parts. You have your heart center. This is where you feel, right? We have some very deep feelings. That's where love, that's where your native self is. It's useful when you want to express yourself or when you want to pursue something of the unknown. You follow your heart. Follow your heart, even though there's something that you don't know about the circumstance. And then you have your gut. This is where the intuition happens. This is where your instinct is. This is where your past experience plays in. This is where your nervous system response connects. It's useful when you need to make a choice or solve a problem, especially without complete information. So these connections are hugely powerful in our bodies for us to know about and to use as much as possible. So the emotions, as you know, if you get upset about something, if somebody says something to you that really upsets you, it feels as though it just resonates in your head. At least that's how it feels for me. I'll speak for myself. It resonates in my head. I replay the moment of when somebody said something that felt so mean. And so it replays in my head. And then my heart starts to hurt because it's like, how could they think or say something like, I just feel like, and then my gut gets so, I start to get a little queasy because all of this equipment is in turmoil. That's what happens. So it can happen that way. We overthink something and it brings the other parts in along. Or it can also happen, you eat too much junk food and then the next day you just can't seem to think straight. You can't seem to. So what happens in our gut also affects the way that we think. Stress. Stress is incredibly powerful. In fact, it's more powerful than we may understand. Stress is likely to show up if you feel like you have no control over what's going on. Some of you may be able to relate to that. And what if a situation doesn't make sense? Then that brings me stress. And then I'm overthinking to try to figure it out. Stanford neurobiologist Robert Sapolsky says, chronic stress does lousy things to people's brains. We make ridiculous, stupid decisions during times of stress. Judgment, impulse control, and emotional regulation go out of whack during times of stress because of the effect on the frontal cortex. And recent findings show that when we are stressed, we become less empathetic, less compassionate, less capable of seeing someone else's perspective. We know that it's really good for people to get stress under control because there will be fewer cases of hypertension or diabetes. But ultimately, Sapolsky says, an important reason to get individual stress under control is that people will be nicer to one another. The one thing that I can manipulate in these circumstances is social support, right? And that happens to be the most powerful one. Sapolsky says that we need to have those connections. It's not about having loads and loads of friends and acquaintances and family. It's about having those key ones that we can connect to and share with, because those can help us refresh, relate, help us to reflect on what's going on and help to bring down our stress. The other big part is that how we handle stress now affects how we handle stress in the future. So you are training your body to react to stress. It could be hours in the future, days in the future, or years in the future. Our bodies get trained very quickly. So this has happened for me over the course of time. College, I was in a major at a college that didn't really support me, right? I had to do a major that I didn't really want and I wasn't really good at because I had chosen, going back to that college decision, I chose a college that didn't really have what I wanted to study. I don't know how that happened. So I went through my science major and I'm not inherently, as far as, I am a scientist in the framework of what we're talking about in BiSci, but when it comes to studying physics, it is not my thing. And so it was extremely stressful for me. Organic chemistry, not my thing. But there I was, and I felt stuck and that stress. And so it started to affect my digestion. And to this day, many, actually decades ago now, I couldn't digest milk, right? I lost that. And then I couldn't digest wheat because of stress. And then I couldn't digest soy. Like it's built and built because of the tension and the stress that I put myself through, thinking that I was stuck, that now my diet is so limited. It's so frustrating. So it's this connection that we have to understand that I didn't understand. So how is it that we can make choices that help our whole bodies to be healthy now and later? So let's review these words. Do you blank that this class will be a good way to spend your time? Do you think it will be a good way to spend your time? Do you hope it will be a good way to spend your time? Or do you choose that it will be a good way to spend your time? So what's the difference? I'm not asking this particular question just because I want you to love BiSci, but to get to the point. So talk to your neighbor about how this hits you.
Are there any
What's the difference? Where do you feel the difference in these words?
Yeah. So when we were discussing, or my friend, when we were talking, we were like, so our first instinct was, oh, do you think that this is going to be a good way to spend your time? But then we were like, well, I mean, I hope it's a good way to spend my time. And they're like, well, we chose to be here. We chose to not drop this class. And so we kind of went through each of them like, oh, we expanded on each one of them. I just thought that was an interesting thing.
Mm-hmm. Sweet.
My first thought was that think is kind of the default word to put there. And then
Mhm.
if you think a little bit harder, you might answer, well, I hope so. And then I didn't drop the class after coming to a couple of lectures.
Yeah. So if you think it will be a good way to spend your time, or if you hope it will be a good way to spend your time, whose responsibility is it if it's a good way to spend your time?
That somebody else is gonna like cause me. To that, I was thinking like, I hope that this is gonna be a good experience. So that's kind of like put on somebody else. Like I hope my teacher aide is nice and it'll cause a good experience for me. But then choosing is like, oh, I choose to accept like whoever it is, and I'll take like the best aspects of what's happening to make my time good. At least that's how I thought about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anybody want to expand on that? Say more? Okay. So if you think or if you hope, then you're putting the responsibility on me and on the TAs, right? Which is fair. Certainly, I want to choose to use your time as wisely as possible. That's my job, is to not waste your 50 minutes, right? And I take that responsibility. But then what happens up here, you don't have any power over. But what happens down there, and when you walk out of the room, that's where you're choosing, right? Even being right here in the moment It's your choice about what you're doing with your time, with your thoughts, with your energy. You're choosing. And that is where the power is, right? That's what's so cool about the power of choice. It's empowering. Choosing is the hero's journey. I feel like I get really emotional about this because I think that there's so much strength in the opportunity to make choices. So you had this in your class. I will do my best to respect the 4 pillars of the BiSci culture, right? This is where we ask you to own your experience. We want you to see that you have the power to direct your learning. Along these lines, you can choose to make your journals more powerful for you. Using I language is how we can claim our experience as our own. Right? If you're saying we or the people or us as a society, there are certainly times that you can refer to that as observations that you're making. But when you're speaking really something that you believe, the truth and the power comes in when you use I language. It's ownership. You're taking ownership. You're choosing that language. So defining reality, we are finding ways to respond. And we have that responsibility along the way, always. So we had this a few days ago, superior and inferior, the idea of our beliefs. The way that we get to choose, that's the operating system of our lives. We had a pretty good debate about human and tree word pair, and that'll be something that we're going to expand upon and learn more about as we go through the class, right? So thinking about how you can choose both and, shifting your story, choosing to shift your story, choosing your beliefs, and where the power is in that, right? Making the choice to change dualism is pretty cool. The power that our relationships have also is really interesting, right? Reflecting on your power of choice and how your relationships play into your choices can be really empowering, considering whether you're making choices for yourself or letting people choose for you. That's an important realization. We get a lot of identity, a lot of sense of belonging in the groups and the friendships, the relationships, the family bonds that we have. And are they good ones? Are they healthy ones? Are they the ones that you would choose for yourself? So who is making your choices? Maybe you choose to follow the crowd sometimes, and maybe you choose to lead the crowd sometimes, and maybe sometimes you choose to stay in. But understanding that it's a choice and that it's your power that you get to use to make that choice is the important part. So where we are is when I was at outdoor school a long time ago, at those campfires that Mud told you about, the kids would sit around and around the campfire, and there was a story that we used to tell about, it was about a village that was needing a new chief. And so they had 3 final candidates for the chief. And the first candidate, you know, they had already done all the other tests and they were in their final position, the final question, like the final job interview portion. And they were each given a bird and they held the bird in their hands. And the question was, what would you do with this bird that would show us what kind of a ruler you would be? What kind of a chief are you going to be for our tribe? And the first candidate said, well, I am a powerful leader, and he crushed and killed the bird. And that's what I'm going to do to our enemies. And that's how I'm going to rule our village. That was his statement. The second candidate said, I am going to let the bird go, and everyone is going to have their own power of choice, and that's the kind of ruler I am going to be. And the third person up for the role of chief said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show everyone in the village that they have choices about how to be citizens of this tribe. I am going to instill the power to make choices for the good of the group. He said, it doesn't matter what I do with this bird to show you, it's that I get to choose any moment what I am going to do next. So the power of choice. Destiny is not a matter of things to be, destiny is not a matter of chance. It is a matter of choice. It is not a thing to be waited for. Take this into your consideration. Write it down if you choose. Consider how you feel about the statement. Talk to your neighbor about it for a moment.
Yeah, that's me.
Go ahead. So when I was visiting Juniata College with my oldest son, trying to figure out if and where he was going to go to college, this is the banner that hangs in multiple places around campus. Think about who you are. Who is that person you want to be? What would happen if you make choices? How will that look when you make choices considering you and what you need, what you can learn from the world around you? How can you be the best version of yourself? How will you choose to show up to life with your full being? Choice is power and choice is responsibility. So we are our choices. For your Canvas discussion post that should open just after class, the questions are these. Are you in control of your life, or is life happening to you? Why do you answer the way you do, and how do you feel about this? You should be placed in your small group, your lab groups, for this conversation on Canvas, and I look forward to reading some of your answers. Thank you. Have a beautiful day. Thank you. Thanks.